Hey yo, fellas, we made men, we made men. Try to believe that within. I just wanna be a good man. Okay, I know you are, but tell me you a good man. Tell me you're a good man. So many men are being crushed. Societal demands to be tough. Yes, you are enough. Okay. I just wanna be a good man. I can't relate to you, brother, cause you're a good man. Yes, you are a good man. Listen, I'm right beside you, I'm right behind you. I know that life could be hard. That right? Nigga, not a coward, you got the power for talking about your scars. No, you're not soft. Let me inspire you, empower you, because society may wanna see you fall. You got another brother to call. So many men are being crushed. Societal demands to be tough. Yes, you are enough. Don't bluff. Okay. I can't relate to you, brother, cause you're a good man. Yes, you are a good man. Hey, I'm here, my brother. You know I love you. Yes, you are enough. I just wanna be a good man. I can't relate to you, brother, cause you're a good man. Yes, you are a good man.
All right, man. You know what time it is, man. It's your man, DB Empowers, and you are inside the M.A.D.E Men Project, where we are dismantling society's false sense of masculinity, where we are changing the male narrative. We are motivated, accessible, we are disciplined, and we are expressive men. And like I said, man, we are dismantling society's false sense of masculinity. And my first guest I have on here today, this brother from Richmond, Virginia. And I'm so excited to have this brother on here because he's doing some great things down in Richmond. And once I kick it over to him, he's going to be able to explain the movement that he has going on down there. I'm honored to have this brother on. This brother's name is James Harris. He is an author. He is the founder of M.A.D.E. He's the author of Man, Just Express Yourself. This brother has a lot of things going on. He has a movement. And like I said, I'm honored to have him here. When I reached out to him, I did not think I was going to be able to get him because he's doing so much. But this goes to show how genuine, how down to earth, how real this brother is. You know, I'm just starting my movement, and this brother will hit me up now and then and leave little comments, man, to encourage me and keep me going. So I'm excited to have him on here. So James, I truly appreciate you, brother. Once again, this is James Harris, founder of M.A.D.E and author of Man, Just Express Yourself. Kick it over to you, brother.
My man, hey, appreciate you for having me, man. Much continued success on your platform. I'm sure it's going to be awesome. But me, I'm right here in Richmond, Virginia, born and raised. I'm a father. I'm also an entrepreneur in the area, as well as from North Carolina, Virginia, up into DC, over 15 investments. And I just became an author in April, a piece of literature, Man, Just Express Yourself, which is an interactive guide for boys and young men.
You gotta get it.
Yeah, so the movement I founded a couple years ago is called Men to Heal, which focuses on men overall wellness, their mental health as well as their physical health. I just think it's important and vital to get men back interested in the little things, such as getting a physical, early detection, you know, and of course, see a therapist if they can, if they want to. But if not, that's why I created the book as a tool to navigate them and assist them in our journey.
Oh man, that's wonderful. That's great. Like I said, I came across this brother on Instagram, man. He was just doing some powerful things, always uplifting and helping men to deal with things. I seen a vulnerable side of him. I seen, you know, he's just always encouraging, man, and really, you know, doing it in his own way with his major platform, dismantling this false sense of masculinity and what this is. So, brother, I'm gonna kick it off with our first question, man. You know, as a boy, when you were growing up, what was your example of a man?
I mean, my example is varied, to be honest with you. So I was a ward of the state. I was in foster home and group home. So it was several males there who were modeling a certain behavior that one would want to achieve to. But there were also the males there that you can tell who were just there for, you know, to obtain a paycheck. So
absolutely,
it all varied. But the examples that I did have were strong, positive ones who were uplifting community, who were doing community service, who was pushing me to ensure that my grades were, you know, above and beyond, and making sure that I was presented as a well-rounded person, not only able to articulate, but to display those actions and characteristics as well. So I would say overall, though, I had a nice foundation of influences that were on the right track, but of course it was some deviant influences as well, based on that perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I get it, man. I definitely understand. I did adult corrections. I started off in adult correction. I went down to juvenile corrections, and I understand the role that men have, or the impact that men have in that role. It's big, man. Especially when it comes to our youth. A lot of our youth are caught up in that system, man, and we being at I rose to a high level in that system when I was there. I should tell staff all the time, especially our males, man, you have to make sure you're here for the right reason. You have an opportunity to impact, because you're really the only men that our youth are seeing. And a lot of times you have to understand that their interactions with men in their life haven't been positive. So that's why you will see in those situations, men will have more issues with the youth than the females will have, because of just that structure right there, or that block that was between the man and the boy. So I definitely understand what you're saying, man. So being that you was caught up in that, that you was in that system, how did you navigate through that, man? How did you get from there to where you are right now?
Man, I got there just sheer tenacity, to be honest with you, and want more than my situation entailed. So I wound up emancipating myself at 16 just because I
Wow.
seen what was coming. I don't know how the system is where you are, but here in Virginia, once you aged out at 18, then you was pretty much on your own anyway. So I just wanted to get ahead of that curve. And to be honest, I could have been stubborn and ignorant and everything, but I just wanted to do it on my own, man, and I made it work. So it was a lot of tough decisions. I was able to be employed at a grocery store, so I was making money, I was getting tips, I was doing stuff like that, and I had a vehicle. Um, so I would stay in hotels or friends' houses and stuff like that up until I graduated. So when I graduated, I went to college, and good school, man. I went to St. Paul's College. It's no longer here. It was one of the oldest HBCUs in the country.
Uh,
And
that's so
yeah, so you know how small it was. It was only
yeah.
one male dorm and one female dorm. And my room was right there on the first floor, and I can easily get in there. So pretty much on Christmas break, summer break, winter break, spring break, stuff like that, I would sneak back into the dorm because technically I was still homeless. So I was fortunate enough that my room was right there on the first floor. So I unload my microwave and my fridge and my Foreman grill from out the car, put it in there, and be good. And then going into my sophomore year of college, this guy from the group home, actually, his son had just moved to Washington State, and he, found out what was going on. He said, "Hey, man, listen, you can stay here. You can, just hang it up. My son is gone for, the summer or whatever the case is." So I started staying there on my breaks, which was an awesome experience. But I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want to
Right.
overstay my welcome. So at that point, sophomore year, I joined the Army. So I did Army, 8 years, 2 deployments, and that was the start of my entrepreneurship. On my first deployment, actually. So when I was came home on leave, I started the process to get my house built, and went back, finished the deployment, and after the deployment, my house was done maybe 2 to 3 months after, and I was able to close. So I did that opposed to, watching my fellow soldiers go home on leave and buy motorcycles and hit the clubs and do all this extra stuff. I was like, nah, after this, I'm gonna need somewhere to lay my head. I got, stuff I need to do.
Yeah.
Um, so I was fortunate, and that right there just turned me into like that passion for wanting to be able to get it. Like I right there, I felt that I can accomplish anything. So I learned to, financial literacy. I learned to manage my money properly, managed to then, start investing in small stuff. And then before you know it, I had a name around the city as somebody who would invest, of course, in local Black entrepreneurs who the bank would turn away. So I just continue to grow, continue to build on that, and the reputation got strong, and people started believing in me. And then after that, it was a wrap.
Man, that's powerful, man. So, without you dropped a lot of things in that, but the most important thing I'm hearing, man, is you took 100% responsibility for your life. You didn't allow your circumstances to things that you've been through to dictate or determine how you're going to be in the future. And you started making steps to, or you started making choices to do things differently. And I think that's powerful, man, because you know, especially as young black men, we have so many opportunities to use excuses of why we do the things that we do, why we the way that we are, and instead of making the choices to be able to move forward. Like for me, prime example, you know, I've been homeless. I had to sleep in cars. I know what it is and not know where your next meal is coming from. I know what it is to be, I've been physically abused, emotionally abused, I've been sexually abused. So I had all these things stacked up against me, but I always knew that I wanted more, that I can have more and I can do more. And I always didn't know the steps to take to get there, but I know I wanted more, man. So, you know, I think the fact that, you know, you was able to persevere and keep going in the direction you're going on is powerful and it's amazing, man. And I truly applaud you for that, brother. That's so inspiring, man.
My man, appreciate that, bro.
What do you feel is the difference though? Like that really, I mean, I know you said that, you know, you were looking for a place to lay your head. You weren't trying to get motorcycles and things like that, but what do you think was the difference from you? Because it's like a fork in the road. You could have done those things, but what was really your driving factor that made you go right instead of going left?
Just one more. Just wanted to set the example for not only my younger brother and sister, but of course the community. I just thought it was important to not be a negative statistic. You know,
Yeah.
it was already so many other statistics. Like I just wanted to accomplish something. I wanted to prove it to myself that I can. And I had already jumped out there of emancipating myself at 16.
Right,
So
right.
it was either, you know what I mean, like leave this system, you know, nice house and group home structure to doing some silly, reckless, or illegal, and then get into a bigger institutionalized system. I was like, nah, I'd much rather figure out and navigate a way to be some way greater beyond myself and beyond what anyone potentially expected. So for me, it was most of that willpower, but of course, to set the example for my younger brother and sister.
Man, that's great, man. So I know, and a lot of times when we start talking about success, like we talk about like all we see the tip of the iceberg. We see where you're at now. When you were going through all that, when you was going through the deployments, when you were going through the process of building a home and getting to where you are now, what was the hardest part for you about that? Like, what was your biggest struggle during that process?
That process, that was an easy process, to be honest
Right.
with you. Everything after that I accumulated was more challenging and tough because, you know, of course, like the during that time it was around 2008, so the housing market crashed, and I was like,
Yeah,
oh man, I want to make sure I'll be able to afford it.
yeah,
You know, so everything was good. So after that, though, I started. Right now, I'm at 4 properties and 5 businesses, and of course, the 15 plus investments. So
yeah.
after that 2008 point, I was able to make sure that I was financial literacy enough to save money and, you know, put my money in the right places so they at least grow in increments where I can continue to invest.
Right.
So for me, those were the challenging times, like after that first initial one.
Oh,
After you get your first one, you try to figure it out. Like, oh no, I'm trying to double up. I'm trying to,
right.
you know, I just got to keep winning. So for me, it was more about, you know, accumulating more, and just again, like being that monopolist, like taking over anything I potentially can, but not only myself, but again, investing back in my community, invest in the people that the bank said no. Like, you know, if you got
Yeah,
a good idea and I can help you, you know, at that time I was pretty decent sitting on Iraq money. So it was like,
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
got you. I
Right,
help you
right,
out, you know,
right.
and of course, not only helping them out, it was able to help me out because I was getting a little bit more interest. My name, reputation was growing, and now they got this business that's doing well, and you know, it helped both of us. It helped the community as well.
Got you, got you. So, brother, let's talk about mental health. Break that down. How we got to this point, what drove you to that? Because it's a powerful thing you got going on. So, speak on that a little bit.
Yeah. So mental health, man. So in grad school, we had this assignment. You know, like you probably heard it or seen it or whatever, but you know how you get this writing assignment. If there's any part of the population that you can change, what would it be? Blah blah blah.
Yeah,
So a couple of people in my cohort, man, they chose LGBTQ, they chose women rights, they chose veterans, they chose you know, some political or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
You know, so initially I chose veterans as well, but then I realized like, oh man, the men are often neglected, not
Yeah.
only as positive representation within the field, but just in general. Like
Yeah.
they so reluctant to seeking services, not only just for that mental health, but of course the physical health as well. So I took that on as a task, man. I was able to survey, you know, we had a criteria in which we had to get this done. So we had to do research and we had to survey people and stuff like that. So what I found is within my immediate circle, it was a lot of guys who hadn't even had physicals within a, you know, a 2-year span. They weren't going to the doctor. And of course they weren't seeing therapists. So for me, I was like, oh yeah, this is my project. I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
So, you know, got that project complete, fast forward, wound up graduating, started at this private practice called Avail Outpatient Counseling. And it's a woman practice. It's two African-American women that own the practice. And I was the only male there for a long time. And I was like, yo, y'all do phenomenal work for the community for women, but what about the men? So one of the owners was like, yo, create something, we can figure it out. And then that's when it was born, man. I got stuck at a train and I drew the logo on my screen. I got a Tesla, so I drew that. And that's the logo that you still see, like on all the merch, on the book, everything. So, you know, just the one that I took from the screen.
I remember I reached out to you when I wanted the sweatshirt. Or, hey, man, can you do it in my color? Like, I wanted to, you do it in green and gold. Like, nah, boss, the logo is the logo. I'm like, oh.
The logo is logo.
Yeah, I saw it. Right. Yeah. That's deep, man. So let's talk about the challenges of working with this population, or working with men, because listen, when I got into it, man, I knew what the challenges were, but man, let's see if we can relate to the same type of challenge. So what challenges are you seeing with working with men?
So to be honest, man, I've been fortunate because the men themselves are seeking me out. Not only that, but the women, you know, their moms, their sisters, their daughters. Hey, hold on real quick. I got somebody.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. So I really didn't run into any challenges yet because the moms, the sisters, the wives, you know, they all see this as a tool. So they encourage our men to come out. And then, of course, now with the pandemic and, of course, these untimely deaths of the African-American men, they seeking me out themselves. But again, I already had a strong reputation within the community when I was, you know, just throughout. So when I started doing these segments, each quarter, it'll fill up. It started probably, you know, with 20, 30 guys showing up. And then it just continued to grow and blossom. Then it was like up to 65 attendees, men and women. You know, the women are coming, again, advocate for their husbands or sons or dads and stuff like that bring their questions. And then it just continued to grow, man. And before I knew it, different people were reaching out for speaking engagements and stuff like that. So that's how the movement really blossomed, just me being consistent and putting out a good product, definitely content that people need, even prior to this pandemic. So I was fortunate. And, you know, just keep applying pressure, just keep updating and educating people on the facts surrounding men and mental health and men and physical health, just overall wellness, just getting back to being healed and whole, not only for yourself as the man, but, you know, for your family, that the people that are affected vicariously, like your coworkers or your, you know, your spouses and your children and stuff like that, your teammates and stuff like that. So when I've just been in a position to where people, it's relatable, you know, like it's something that they need, but they had to go and search for it. And then they have to worry about availability and access. Like, oh man, I know where it is, but how am I pay for it? You know, so make it affordable or make it so that they can get to it. You know, of course, there's some red lines there that we got to navigate depending on the circumstance, but I just want to be visible to say, hey, listen, I'm here. If I can't help you, I'll definitely provide you a resource. So I just continue to grow from there.
Man, that's great, man. That's great. You know, the challenge I see, man, because I don't, you know, I'm not dealing with, you know, I deal from a different angle with coaching. So I'm dealing with men who have to, you know, bring themselves in or, you know, first they have to acknowledge that, okay, something is wrong. And a lot of times when I run into it, it's a lot of pride. And it's, I'm okay, or, you know, I'm good, or I'm fine, when they really aren't. And when I start really breaking it down and agitating that problem and letting them see what it is, then they're like, you know, you're right. Excuse me. It starts to unravel. And the approach that I take, man, is emotional. I focus on the emotion, how to respond, how to identify, how to manage, because I feel that's a part that's missing in this new initiative or new drive for mental health. I feel that it's a trifecta when it comes to health and wellness. And I look at it like mental health, physical health, and then emotional health. But a lot of times, emotional health is getting swept up under the mental health part of it. Do you feel that emotional health and wellness, emotional wellness, should have its own category, or do you feel that emotions should be up under the mental health part aspect of it?
I guess it's all in perspective and it's all in your platform. I know for me, I think it's way more vital just to get them in the door. Once you
Right,
get in
right,
the door, we can categorize, we can compartmentalize where you need to be
right,
after that.
right, right,
But the main thing is, you came to get services, you came to get help. So
right.
now that you're here, let's do A, B, C, D, E. If you
Yeah,
fit over here, you fit over there, then that's cool. But right now, the main thing is like you're here. Because for a long time it was so much reluctancy, not only with society equating vulnerability to weakness and being soft and just the
right,
stereotypes that you see in the media and stuff like that. So just to be fortunate for a guy that's come and say, hey man, I miss practice this day to come to the session or to hear what you got to say, or
yeah,
I'm trying to better myself to be a better husband and a better father. So just to hear those testimonies for me is good. I can
right,
put you in those subgroups later. We can figure out
right,
everything else
right.
later. But you here, now let's work on trying to maintain that you continue this road beyond here.
Got
So, I mean, again, it all depends. Like for you, it might be easier for you to group them ASAP. But for me, I found like, oh, you here, let's figure it out. And then let's do everything else.
Yeah, I got you. Now, I was more so talking about not even just like the men. I'm talking about overall general when it comes to health and wellness. Do you feel like it's
Well,
separate?
yeah. So overall, though, I would say emotional is more geared to the mental side of things. People
Right.
tend to put those in, yeah, yeah. So no, I mean, yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah, yeah. I try to, saying I always discuss or break down. I think it's like a trifecta, like a triangle, man. There's three aspects to that. I mean, it gets a lot deeper. I get it, but I mean, a lot of times what I see and the things that I dealt with and experience that I have with a lot of like my clients and the men I deal with, man, it's not so much like what they've been through, but it's how they respond to what they've been through. They have an issue of identifying and processing through these emotions, man. And that's the main thing that's really holding them up, how to deal with emotions. They view emotions like emotions are the enemy. What's your thought? What's your process, or where are you at with it when it comes to men and their emotions?
Express them. So pretty much that's why I wrote the book, man. So
Yeah,
get it out, because historically the issue has been not how they like. The misconception is they don't express it. They do express it.
absolutely. It comes.
They just it's just been expressed in the incorrect ways. Based on
Yes,
those things. So anger, aggression, being promiscuous, being reckless, all those things, substance use. So what we want to do is make them or assist them in ways to articulate it in a healthy way to not only assist them, but of course their families, their
right,
friends and stuff like
right,
that. Because if you get the, if I can't say, hey, I'm upset, give me a break, that's an issue. If
right,
my, hey, give me a break is me punching this wall or me
right,
drowning myself in this bottle, those are the issues. Those are the
right,
things that, the movement is preventing. Let me assist you and help you to be able to express it so your partner or your children or your teammates or your boss can say, hey, all right, cool, he's going through XYZ, he's going to bounce back. Opposed to, oh, we know he's going through something because he just hit somebody, or he just,
yeah,
he just sped off, or he, spent all his money, or whatever the case is. So we don't want those things to happen. We
right.
want you to be able to process it in a healthier way.
Absolutely, man. That's great. When it comes to you and your emotions, were you always in control and able to manage your emotions, or was that a learning process?
Learning process, but I was always on the positive side of things. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right,
I wouldn't do nothing reckless because I ain't want to give nobody that much power, but I would be challenged with reacting. You know what I'm saying? So responding and reacting is different. So
absolutely.
now I'm more of a, process and understand how to properly respond without, getting too erratic or too emotional, just to ensure that we both understand each other. We can disagree or we can agree, but whatever the case is. So for me, it was more of a learned thing, but I was always on the positive side of it. Like, you know, it ain't have to get verbal, I mean physical, or you know, outside of whatever it needs to be. But if it needed to go there, it wasn't based on my behalf. It was me responding.
Right. So what was harder for you? Was it to identify what you were feeling, or was it to communicate what you were feeling?
I was able to identify. So the communication problem is hard because, you know, that communication, man, is two-part. It's the giver and the receiver. So I can give you me all day long, but if you're not comprehending what I'm giving you, then it's an issue. So I was challenged with that, trying to help people to understand what I'm saying or why I'm doing the things I'm doing, you know, because they said it from that perspective. You got to remember, it was a long time where people was like, yo, like didn't value the opinion of children or didn't view certain responses or just information from somebody that they feel more superior to. So for me, that was more the issue. Like, yo, I'm telling you how I feel, but if you're not understanding how I feel, if you don't care, if you're not in a position to change how I feel, then I guess that was based on your perception, you know? So that was stems from, of course, my tenure in the group homes, my tenure in the military, just, you know, it was always that power struggle. It was always somebody saying, oh no, you just a resident. You're a client here. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I'm telling you, you know what I mean? This bothered me. I'm telling you X, Y, Z. Or of course the military, like, you know, stay in your place, you do what you told, you know what I'm saying? And then of course so it wasn't the aspect of me not being able to express it. It was just the people not in being able to reciprocate what I needed them to.
Yeah, right. That's great, man. You know, we talked earlier about what it looked like. What were your examples of a man when you were coming up? Has the definition of a man changed from where you were younger to where you at now? Do you view manhood in a different light?
No, not really. Be able to take care of yourself, take care of your family, set the example for the community. Just be a positive force. Just be somebody that is reliable and hold himself accountable for his actions through and through. So for me, that's pretty much a solid man. You know what I'm saying? Somebody that I would view. I stay away from those social constructs, you know, like I stay away from other people's perceptions. I tend to be and value who I am enough to know, like, you might have an opinion or a decision that you think of who I am, but I know who I am. So that doesn't really bother me, you know?
Right. Got you. So what is one piece of advice you would give a young man or other men when it comes to masculinity?
Definitely ignore those social constructs. Be free within yourself, man. Like, express yourself in eclectic, creative way that you want to. You know, society would definitely tell you that, you know, men aren't supposed to do X, Y, Z. Ignore that. If you want to do certain things, you want to do it. Like, one of the biggest misconceptions, I think, with masculinity is, let's take yoga. You know how many men don't do yoga because it's got feminine poses, but not knowing that, yo, if you can enhance your stretching and your ability to be flexible, it'll assist you in other sports. You know, so when I articulate and educate them more on that aspect, they realize, like, oh man, you tripping. I get less Charlie horses. I'm able to, you know, the endurance and different stuff like that, reduce injuries. So they're like, oh man, I'm tripping. So now, you know, it's a yoga wave. You know, so just I think for me it's more so of being true to who you are, like figuring it out. Again, don't worry about other people's perception. So if you want to do something that the norm is goes against those social constructs, then, you know, wear it. Then definitely be free with it.
Man, that's awesome, brother. That's a great way to explain and break that down, man. My last question for you. I know you spoke a little bit on it earlier and you broke down everything that you got going on, but at the end of it all, brother, when it's all said and done, what legacy are you leaving?
So the legacy I plan to leave, man, I don't know if you know, but I just started my YouTube channel, Mental Heal. So you definitely can go to YouTube, like, share, subscribe that. Of course, the book is going to be here even while I'm long gone. People still going to have access to the information. And of course, everything I have now is ultimately being done for my heiress, my little daughter, man. So, you know, she gonna pick it up. She gonna decide on if she want to keep the businesses, investing, or sell and just live that. So for me, that's the most important thing, to leave a legacy and ensure that I'm inspiring the next generation, not only for my individual child, but for the masses, the community, worldwide, to be honest with you. So I want my legacy to be, he went through a lot, he worked hard, but he got it done. He found a way. He made sure that he helped others be better than what they are.
Wow, wow, that's great, man. Listen, man, I'm sitting here with this deep young brother, James Harris, man. I appreciate you coming on today, man. I appreciate you giving up some of your valuable time on a Sunday, man. Brother, I'm watching you. I'm looking at you. I see what you got going on, man. You are inspirational. You are motivating, man. I definitely love what you got going on in Richmond. I actually spent some time in Richmond, man. I went to Henrico High School. I was in Richmond for like 4 years. Yeah, so my lady's from Richmond. You know, I still got a brother down in Richmond, so Richmond is still like a second distant home. I hated Richmond, but Richmond was like a second distant home. But hey man, I love what you got going on down there. As soon as this Rona stuff free up, man, and I start traveling, I definitely want to catch up with you, brother, and really just look at what you got going on down there, man. And I wish you the best. Keep doing what you're doing, man. I will definitely subscribe to your YouTube channel, kick it out to my platform, man, and you know, hopefully encourage people to get your book, man. There's some valuable lessons in here. It's very interactive. You can, I like to write it out, draw it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like the way you break things down like that, man. So, hey, I really appreciate you having me on, James. I love everything you got going on. I wish you the best, man. Thank you, brother.
Man, definitely appreciate you for having me, man. Again, you guys can find me, mentoheal.com, www.mentoheal.com. And of course, on my Instagram, if you got any questions or need some resources, men_TO_HEAL. It's also a resource link on my website with different, hotlines for crisis or suicide and different stuff like that. So hopefully you don't need it, but if you do need it, definitely reach out to me. I can be a resource to you.
Man, that's great, brother. Listen, man, you enjoy the rest of your day, man. I really appreciate you. You take care, sir.
My man, you as well. Thanks, man. Keep up the good work, boss.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Yep.